Hello, I'm Ollie, and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, it's all of that stuff. It's my weekly wrap up. It's Saturday morning, Easter weekend, so a long bank holiday weekend in the UK here. And the weather is absolutely glorious. You may be able to tell by the hue of my face that I spent too long in the back garden yesterday reading without putting sunscreen on first, which was very silly of me. So I have got sunscreen on today and we'll be doing more reading in the garden this afternoon. After last week, when I think when I spoke to you last week, I'd only read 3 books in that week. This week I've had a really good reading week. I've been off work, which has given me a bit more time, and I've read a load of kind of shorter books, all of which, or most of which, I've really enjoyed. So yeah, it's been a good week reading wise. So I'll talk to you in a sec about what I've been reading this week, and then do the normal kind of chat about what's been on the channel, what's coming up on the channel, and also I've got a lovely one book haul to show you. I received an absolutely beautiful book in the post yesterday, so I will show you that at the end. Right, so in terms of what I have read, so the first one actually I haven't got because I took it back to the library. That was Jack of Spades by Joyce Carole Oates, which was really good. So it's a suspense novel. And I have to say, so before I start, so I've not read much Joyce Carole Oates at all. I've read one of her older novels, which I think was called Revenge of the Spider Monkey, and I've read a short story of hers which I really liked. But this they had in the library, and I grabbed it, and it was great. So it's a lot like Stephen King's novel The Dark Half, and I think Joyce Carole Oates is very aware of that. And in fact, Stephen King gets mentioned a ton in this book for various reasons. So it's about a successful kind of crime writer who writes fairly kind of middle of the road books, but is reasonably successful, who's also got this darker alter ego, Jack of Spades, who writes these really nasty, pulpy kind of books which sound a lot better than the successful books, to be honest with you. And it's really about him juggling the two sides of his personality. So it's not an out-and-out horror novel like The Dark Half was. It's much more of a kind of psychological suspense thriller, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. She took the story in very different directions. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So yes, since then I've read a bunch of other stuff. So I read Come Closer by Sara Gran, which is a book that Juan from Played by Visions sent me some time ago, which was fantastic. So I think I'm going to do a separate review of this one. So it's a kind of possession novel, but really chilling and really effective. I thought it was excellent. I also finally read some James N. Cain. So I've been saying for ages I needed to read James N. Cain, and I picked up a few recently. So I read The Postman Always Rings Twice by him, and again I think I'll probably do a review of this as well. This was so good. You can see why it's so well thought of. How old is it? 1934, but just absolutely phenomenal. Really bleak and dark. So a story of a drifter who ends up working in this cafe that's run by a husband and wife, like a dinosaur place, and starts an affair with the wife, and they end up conspiring to kill the husband. That all happens fairly near the start of the book, and it then takes all sorts of turns after that, but it was brilliant. Also read this. So this is one I picked up in a charity shop the other day. It's really good. So I was familiar with the name Nick Carter. So there were a series of like spy novels written in the 60s and 70s, I think, which you always used to see in charity shops over here in the UK, and they always had like slightly saucy ladies on the cover. This is, it turns out, the origin of the character Nick Carter. So in those books, he's like a spy, but originally he was like a kind of gumshoe detective. So this is a dime novel, so kind of a pre-pulp, popular piece of throwaway fiction, I guess, a bit like a Penny Dreadful, I suppose. Originally published in 1886, which has, I think it's the first Nick Carter book. So it has him investigating the death of an actress. But yeah, it wasn't fantastic, but it was certainly entertaining. And I think it's brilliant that this company, who are called, I think they're called 1888 Project, oh no, 1888 Centre, are republishing a load of old pulps like this, or pre-pulps. Also read The Executioners by John D. McDonald. So I'd seen a review of this on Michael Romeo Talks Books, his channel. He raved about it. It's a book I've been meaning to read for a very long time. So yeah, fantastic. So as you can see from the cover, it's the source novel for the movies Cape Fear, of which there are two. But yeah, really good. So about a kind of family man who in the past was involved in the prosecution of this kind of tough guy in the army for rape. And the guy's now got out of prison and has decided to come after the family man. But yeah, a really, really excellent suspense novel. What else have we got? So a couple of my pulp series that I'm reading through. So Edge Blood Run, which was a fairly run-of-the-mill entry in the series, but you know, quite entertaining. It has him going to this town called Paradise, which is a little bit weird. And getting into various scrapes with people there. Read the 8th book in the Gore series, Hunters of Gore by John Norman. So this was, I think, the last book in the series was the first one that had a completely different narrator and was just about this woman's experience on Gore. This one switches back to Tal Cabot, the normal narrator, but had much less of a kind of fantasy plot than previous books in the series, and was much more just about the sex side of it, basically. And the sex in this book was more explicit than it's been in previous books. So it's definitely moving more into kind of sleaze territory. I did still quite enjoy it despite the lack of plot. And it looks like the next one has got more of a sort of classic fantasy plot. So I am going to continue with the series. I picked up a bunch of Louis L'Amour westerns. I think I showed them in the book haul video I filmed the other day, which is going up on Monday. So yeah, I bought a stack of 10 of these Louis L'Amour books off eBay and read one of them. So I've got them obviously for June on the Range in June, but thought I'd give one of them a try. So I read this one. So this was pretty good. So it's about a very small town that kind of grows up as part of the gold rush. But there's various shady characters there, and there's this heroic guy called Matt Coburn, who the townspeople get to kind of protect their gold. So yeah, it had some, you know, some decent gunfighty bits, and some nice kind of a nice western vibe to it. So yeah, my first Louis L'Amour. So pleased to have read that. For my worky book club, I read, I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Piranesi or Piranesi by Susannah Clarke, which was really good. So it wasn't really, I didn't have any preconceptions going into this as to what it was about. But it's about this guy, Piranesi, who lives in this weird, kind of very difficult to describe land that's full of all these, it's like he's in this huge building full of all these halls and statues and things like that, and there's just this one other guy who he interacts with, and these various corpses. So it was a very strange book. It kind of all becomes clear by the end what's really going on. But yeah, really entertaining. I absolutely flew through it. I read it in the afternoon, hence the sunburn. I read it yesterday afternoon in the garden. Yeah, really, really, really good. I think it's one of those books that everyone's like absolutely raving about, in kind of literary circles, if you like. For me, it felt like, you know, I've read a lot of other books in the kind of crime and mystery and horror genre. There are quite a lot of books like this where you get someone in what seems to be an impossible situation, and as the book develops, you find out what's really going on. So I think it's almost a bit of a trope in the genres that I'm fond of, and maybe the literary people aren't quite so familiar with those as I am. But I still thought it was very good. And then this morning, I've read the first of the Stainless Steel Rat books by Harry Harrison. So again, I've got a stack of these off eBay, and they're in the book haul video that I filmed the other day. Whoops, bookmark for that. So I have read this before, but many, many years ago. So it's from the 60s. It's a very silly and entertaining sci-fi novel about this character called Slippery Jim Degree, also known as the Stainless Steel Rat, who's basically a crook. but who gets recruited to work for this kind of spy agency. It's got everything you could imagine from that synopsis is in this book. It's got loads of sort of slightly cheesy sci-fi technology, lots of chases, gunfights, all that good stuff. Really, very entertaining. Yeah, so that's what I have read this week. So I've literally just finished the Stainless Steel Rat, so I'm in that glorious position of not knowing what I'm going to read next. So anyone who watched my TBR video at the start of April will have realised that many of these books I've just talked about were not on my TBR. So Piranesi was, Hunters of Gore was, and Edge Blood Run was, as was Come Closer. But I think the rest of them weren't. Yeah, so the Louis L'Amour wasn't, the Stainless Steel Rat wasn't, Cape Fear wasn't, the Nick Carter one wasn't, and Postman Always Rings Twice wasn't. So I have basically pretty much jettisoned my TBR. There are still some books in there that I think I will read. So there's a survivalist book in there, which I'll definitely read this month, and a executioner book, which I'll definitely read this month. And there's a horror short story collection, which I'll probably get to as well, Revenge, and another one as well, Dark Star. So I think I will definitely still read stuff out of my TBR, but I've found this week quite liberating in terms of not having to worry about what I'm reading. And I think I've gotten so into having a fixed TBR because of the 100 book challenge and that drive to get through books, that it had taken over a little bit. So I've quite enjoyed not having such a fixed kind of list of books to get through this week and just picking something randomly off the shelves when I need something new to read. So I think in May and subsequently I will still have an idea of what I'm going to read in the month, particularly when I'm doing an event. So in May I'm doing Horror Mayhem, in June I'm doing June on the Range, so I'll definitely do a video where I talk about the books I'm thinking about reading, but I won't be nearly as bound by my TBR as I have been. Right, so channel stuff. So in the last week or so, videos that have gone up that you might have missed. So I did a horror library tour. I did my list of 30 greatest horror novels and short story collections that I think you should read before you die, which people seem to have enjoyed. I did my June on the Range announcement video where I talked about some of the books I'm going to be reading for that. What else have I done? I did a tag video. I can't remember which one it was now. Yeah, it's completely gone. I've completely gone blank on that. I did a tag video anyway, and I did a review of, what did I do a review of? I made a note of what I had. Oh, House of Leaves. I did a review of House of Leaves, which was a very interesting book. So coming up in the coming week, I'm going to do another library tour video probably. I've got that book haul video going up on Monday. I think I'm going to do, there's a Q1 look back tag that's doing the rounds. I don't think I've been tagged in it, but I think I'm going to do that because that's quite a good one. And then I'll do a review either of The Postman Always Rings Twice or Come Closer, I think. So yeah, that's a taste of what's coming up in the next week or so. So on to this book that arrived yesterday. So obviously I'm doing June on the Range, which was devised by the fantastic Michael K. Vaughan, and we've been having a bit of a chat in the Voxer group we've got going for it about this Library of America. So there's a Library of America volume dedicated to the Western that's got 4 classic Westerns in it. And lo and behold, I got a message from Michael saying that he'd sent me a copy of it, and it arrived yesterday. So Michael, thank you very much. I have messaged you already saying that, but I truly appreciate this. It's my first Library of America book, and I have to say it is absolutely gorgeous. I can definitely see the appeal. The quality of this feels lovely, and the pages are very thin, but have a wonderful feel to them. So I don't know how long it is. Yeah, so it's over 1,000 pages. So 4 novels contained within. So the Oxbow Instant by Walter van Tilburg Clarke, The Searchers by Alan LeMay, Shane by Jack Schaefer, and Warlock by Oakley Hall. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this. As I say, it's a beautiful, beautiful book. It's even got a you know, you can tell you've got a posh book when it has a ribbon in it for you to use as your bookmark, so you don't even need to have your own bookmark. So yeah, thank you again, Michael. I really appreciate this, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. So that was my week in books. As I say, it's a glorious weekend here, so I will be doing lots more reading in the garden over this long weekend. I hope the weather is good wherever you are as well. I know some of the people I chat with on various Discords who are in the States have got snow at the moment, which feels very strange given how lovely it is here. But yeah, as always, hope you're safe and well. Hope you're reading good stuff. Do let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books I've talked about. I know some of them are, you know, well, most of them are fairly old books this week. So I'm sure people have read some of them, and I know things like, you know, The Postman Always Rings Twice and The Executioners are classics. And Piranesi, I think, is a book that a lot of people have read recently as well, having come out just a couple of years ago. Oh, and I forgot to say, so this was my 2020 book in my countdown challenge that I'm doing, where I'm reading a book a year back through the years. So this was my 2020 book for that. So yeah, let me know if you've read these. If you haven't, let me know what you are reading, and we can chat about that in the comments. But yeah, as always, hope you're safe and well, and I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.